All right, I think we're live. So, oh, oh, nice. All right, my dog is doing his best. All right, I've got the dog for 10 minutes. Correcting. So today we are going to do dog fooding. One of the examples I had put up. Oh, I'm not gonna disturb. I have a feeling you'll be seeing more of them. This is one of the examples, the 2.0 app. Thought this would be a good one. Got gestures, pretty neat UI. That's gonna be some sort of like a sliding carousel, like some parallax going up top. Probably just start with like this stuff going on in the background. That honestly, that'll probably. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. So I've got this okay. Thank you for letting me know. My microphone got messed up this morning. I'll just turn the gate off now and I'll tweet it later. I turned the gate off, so hopefully the background noise isn't too distracting, but let me know if the audio is bad or anything. What tools do the designers use? Well, it might say here. I think Figma's pretty popular, but oh, sorry, you're not seeing what I'm seeing. How's the volume on the music, by the way? Is it too loud? Music volume's good. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm not sure what they use to make this design. Might be Figma. Studio font, sure. Let's see. I can just make it smaller, actually. How's that? I turned the music down just a little bit, but we'll see. Great. Okay, so let's try and get some of this set up here. So I've got, this is basically just the template that Android Studio would open up for you. So let's see if we can get, I'm gonna see if I can open up this.
And now I beg to see you.
Oh my gosh. All right, great. Now we can pause it on the different frames. Okay. Yeah, let's just try and make something kind of like this first. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of this. And I want to break out of the activity just as soon as possible. And so let's just make a new file. Let's see, what do we call this? We'll call this movie carousel or something. And let's just try this. Screen. Okay, and we'll just call right into this. I'll keep the surface. And let's do that. Let's see where that ends up. Where to define composable functions in the activity or separate file. I mean, honestly, they're just functions, so you can put them wherever you want. I'm trying to kind of just focus on the UI here, so I'm just gonna have a file with top level functions. It's sort of the way I prefer it, but I mean, you can build whatever structure you want to. They can be methods on a class or top level functions. It doesn't really matter that much. All right, so we're in the screen now, and let's see. I'm trying to think what the right structure here will be. So we're gonna have this background container, which, you know, will have some art up here and some of this background and everything, and then we'll have a carousel on top of that, and so then we'll build this content in there. So let's just do that. Do a column. And let's give it a background color of black just to start off. We can't, oh, sorry. Thank you for letting me know. I'm just still getting used to some of this. So the switching between apps, I'll have to, yeah, you can see the code now though, right? All right. So let's just do fill max size here. And this will just fill the screen. Yeah, defaults to 1. So that'll give us black, and then let's just create like something inside of it. Let's see. This will just kind of let us know where we are. And all right, let's give that a try. Okay. And just to start off, I'm going to deal with some of the gestures of the carousel like later on. But for now, I'm just going to get like a static representation of the screen. I think it'll be easier to get to that point, and then we'll tweak it from there. Yeah, so at preview would be nice right now. The version of Android Studio I'm using at the moment, I believe it's broken. Yeah, I'll investigate it more later. I didn't have a ton of time setting up, but even so, preview's not going to be great for what we're doing right now because we're gonna. Okay. Yeah, I think I messed up my mic volume somehow. Someone's letting me know in chat. Let me tweak my audio setup. I think at some point I caused it to get low. Okay, there we go. All right, this might blow out the mic real quick. Let me. Yeah, okay. I just adjusted the gain. That's probably still a little too loud. How's this? How's my mic volume right now? Are you able to hear me all right? Is it too loud? All right. We'll keep it there. Sorry about that. My audio is like, I'm trying to do this weird thing with piping the volume through to OBS, and it's, I don't know, not working as well. Oh, you can't hear the music? All right. Anyway, I think we're all right, but let me know. So back to coding here. Let's see. I'm gonna see if we can get a Joker movie poster over in Chrome here. What's that? Let's go for this one. Yeah, I haven't tried Twitch Studio. I'm using OBS directly. It seems like all the tools are there, but piping something from a specific application and then having certain scenes not have that audio seem to be like an advanced use case or something. So it's taken me some time to tweak it. All right. I think this is pretty close to what we've got there, so let's try that. Tab. Let's see, and I don't remember if I added. Yeah, okay. So I added Coil, which is an image library. Not sure if all of you are familiar with it, but this will allow me to just add an image pretty quickly. I'm gonna see if it'll let me just do it here to save some time. What's the size of this? 570, 845. Hello, Rackbit. Let's see. 570. All right, so let's see if this does anything meaningful for us here. The size is going to be wrong because I have a hard-coded size on this. Yeah. What happened there? I think it failed. Yeah, I think it's crashing. I'm just trying to pull it up here to check out why. No, it isn't. What am I looking for here? Doesn't show up. Oh, it's probably just, I probably am not allowing internet connection on my manifest. Let's see. And all right. Let's see if that works. Okay, perfect. Got it on here. Everyone is Googling. Yeah. Gotta Google and copy paste sometimes. That's the way it is. All right. Back to our carousel. Okay. I'm gonna make a separate composable for this like movie poster thing. I'll just call it that, movie poster. And we'll move that in here. And I'm gonna give it a modifier parameter just so we can tweak it from above if we need to. Compose for Android manifest. Is my dog doing something bad? Oh. He is, but I'm gonna ignore it. All right. So let's give this is gonna have a white background, and then we're just gonna do some padding like the movie poster had. So let's start with 20 dp. Composable fun main. Yeah. I want it as well. Well, I'd like to, I need to like lobby people, I guess, to figure out if that's something that we can actually do, but I think it would be great. Hello, Skevy. I see you in there. my soothing voice. As long as it's not Enzo's bark. All right, and then we're gonna round this a little bit. So this needs to be rounded. Let's do clip, rounded corner shape with, let's call it 10 dp. Gosh, my keyboard shortcuts are not on this Android Studio for some reason. How to add a gradient on images using Compose. Is there a gradient here? Not sure if there is or not. The way to do that, you can, in Compose, you can have a brush. You can think of a color as like a type of brush in a way, but like just the simple fill version of it. And so like background, for instance, would have, like here I can show you. So background has a color overload, but then it also has a brush overload. And you can do, I think, like linear gradient. Let's see if, yeah, so this implements brush, and so you could just pass that in, and that would be how you would do that. So let's copy this. I'm going to use it up here as well. Padding. This probably needs to be a lot bigger though. Let's just try that to start. 20 dp, and that's the padding. Yeah, I'll try that. Hello, Subhai Pandy. All right, that is way too big. Let's cut this by a little bit. So 570 divided by 4 is 140. Let's see, 7845. What I'm doing is I'm just trying to figure out the aspect ratio of this image, and then I'll make it like a constant width. Let's see. So I'm gonna go for like 180 as the width. 180, and then times 570 divided by 845. 70. I think this needs to be 266. Let's give that a shot. There is actually. That's Enzo. No. No. All right, I think I'm gonna let him out now. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I've now relinquished dog responsibilities. All right. Let's see. Did I miss anything? Woof woof. Yeah, so aspect ratio. That's probably the better way to do this, actually. So thanks for that. I think what I'll do is I'll say width 180.dp, and then I can say aspect ratio, say, I never know which way it is, but let's say point, oops, 0. Let's say 16 divided by 9. I'm not actually sure if that's what this poster is, but I'll try that. Okay, so wrong way. 9, 16. Try that. All right, so we lost our clipping, I guess because this image isn't actually 16 by 9. 584. 866. 0.674. I'm just going to throw this in there, 1.48. But really what we should do is we should make it so that this fills the content regardless. So I think we want this content scale. And I think what we want is fill height is what we would want. I mean, realistically, we'd probably be getting these posters from an API, and we'd want to enforce some actual aspect ratio each time. But just so that it doesn't look bad here, we're gonna add this. Let's just say, actually, we don't. I mean, I guess technically we want crop. That's the only way that it would ensure we wouldn't get any white space around it. But we don't really want to crop any of the image. Don't you need to size it first, then clip it? That's a good question. Technically, not really. This should work the same. The reason is because the size properties are sort of appealing to the layout system, and so in this case, like the order here won't actually matter, I don't think. Yeah. We don't need the size if we're specifying. Right, so the size here, I would just do a width, not a size, right? So. Oh, interesting. Okay. So when I, let's see. So you're not seeing the pop-ups here. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, okay. That's interesting. That has to do with how OBS is recording the screen. I'll probably change that, but I don't think I can do it this stream. But thanks for letting me know. Okay. Oh, we messed up our... All right, 0.674. Just gonna do that. All right, so if we go back over to our video, let's see. We've got some text and some like chips under here, then a star rating and a button. I'm just gonna kind of mock out some of that stuff for the moment. What's the question? 720i. Yeah, that's a good point. I can try streaming at 720i and see if that's... Yeah. Right now I'm doing 1080p. I was thinking of doing that initially, but then I tried to tweak some settings to take it easy on my CPU. So I did it without any downscaling. But right now it looks like I haven't had any slowdown issues. So next stream I'll try doing 720p, and we'll see how that goes. I think that's probably better for people without great internet connections. Yeah, so the reason the auto suggest isn't showing up is because I'm using OBS's window capture, and I guess the autocomplete for Studio is technically a different window, so it's not including it in the capture. So I'll try and do that a different way, maybe. I don't. Joe NRV, I'm not sure what that means. You'll get more transcodes as you stream more. What does that mean exactly? All right, so we'll just continue on here. Let's just say Joker. And let's do font size, let's say 24 SP. We'll see what the default font is. I don't actually know. And then I'm just going to put black here, even though that's the default. I'll just go back to it. Let's see. Oh, crap. Sorry. I'm not in Android Studio. Oh, interesting. Okay. So, yeah, I'm not an affiliate streamer. I don't know if I became one, what that would mean. Guess we'll find out. What would me being an affiliate mean? Or like, do I need to be an affiliate to allow you to adjust the quality? I'll see what Joey says. Okay, so we've got these like little chip things at the bottom below the Joker text. I'm just gonna roll all of the content, or like all of the like UI myself rather than using like kind of pre-rolled components. I think we could probably make this out of something material, but just so that we can tweak it as much as we want, I'm just gonna do it myself. So going back here, I'm just gonna make a new component for that. So let's just call it chip, I guess. And then I'll give it a label. And then this will have text with the label in it. And probably gonna wrap it. I might be able to, well, let's see if we can get away with just doing the text without anything around it. I think we can do everything we need to do with modifiers. So let's say modifier. I'll add a modifier parameter here. And then this is going to have a border to start, and we'll give this like 1 dp stroke. I'm gonna go back in later and tweak all the colors. So right now I'm just using baked in colors, and then because it's rounded, we're gonna add a shape here. So again, the rounded corner shape is what we want. And then, so interesting, there's actually, if you look at, so let's say 50. If you see here, rounded corner shape has a overload with %. And what this will do is this will ensure that the rounded corner is like basically a pillbox. It's like going to be perfectly 50%. So that I don't need to figure out like how tall it'll be. Modifier, thank you. Is there not a built-in? Okay, sorry, I'm reading through the chat here. So Joe NRV, so affiliates get more transcodes. You can check what you need to get affiliate in your dashboard. Okay, I'll look into it. I just want to make sure whatever I do, I don't want to remove my ability to stream on YouTube at the same time. X days for a month, you're on the road to affiliate. Okay, cool. Is there not a built-in composed chip? I think there might be. I'm not actually sure. But again, I'm just gonna, this is gonna be like a really bespoke UI, so I'm just kind of making everything myself. I can still stream to YouTube. Okay, cool. Thanks. So here we are. I'm gonna put in a few chips here. So like, this says action, drama, and history. Okay. And then, so we've got our border, and then now I'm gonna add like a little bit of padding between the border and the text. And then text, the font size is gonna, or the color is gonna be the same as the border, looks like. So let's just do gray for now. Cool. Yeah, let's see how that looks. Oh, Chris Cinco says there's not a chip built in. So there's no chip component. I guess it looks kind of like an outlined button, but yeah. Okay. So we want to center our Joker text, and actually I'm going to center everything, so we can just add that here. Let's see, align. Oh, I don't want align. What do I want? Gravity. Yeah. Alignment dot center. Okay. What is it complaining about? Type mismatch. Oh, it's oh, this is what I want. Horizontal gravity. Whoops. Modifier does not do everything. Okay, horizontal gravity, alignment dot center. Oh, I want center horizontally. All right. There we go. Let's try that. Can I add a touch ripple? Yeah, Aerobator. Where would you want me to add a touch ripple? I will at some point for whatever's touchable, but. Oh, on the chip. Yeah, that's a good point. Although it doesn't really look like these are touchable at the moment. Like they're not buttons as far as I can tell. Yeah. So I'm not gonna put a touch ripple on the chips right now because I don't want them to be interactable. Why does gravity take an alignment argument and not a gravity one? This is actually a discussion we had just the other day on the naming of alignment and everything. It's a little bit confusing. I think we're still discussing it, but I think we might move away from the word gravity. Yeah, plus ones. Yeah, I mean, gravity is kind of an androidism as far as I can tell. And when the types of these things start to take on other names naturally, I think maybe it's not holding its weight anymore. Will I be demoing how to put items in a grid? I might. Yeah, I don't know. It's not really needed for this example, but it's definitely something that we can think about in the future to do like something like lazy grid 4 if we can. Okay. So we've got that centered. We've got our chips. The chips look a little bit fat, so I'm gonna tweak that a little bit. Let's do, let's see. So I think there's a horizontal, yeah, okay. So let's do like, let's do 8 dp for horizontal, and then let's leave vertical alone. Well, maybe not, let's just see. 2.dp. Let's see how that looks. Can we define text appearances for all text-like material designs? Yeah, you can. So there's, let's see. If you go to this file, this is just the default template that Studio will create for you in a Compose app. But you can create like a default typography, and this is just for body 1. But you can you can override other things as well. Like if you go and look in this class, it's got all of these, and so you can tweak that to have things kind of work by default, and then you can see where that's used in here. So what happens is we create a material theme, and then typography is one of the things that we pass in, along with like colors and shapes and all that. And then any material components that you use will leverage these things by default. So, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. So I'm just kind of doing things manually. Liquid Slack channel. Oh, Asher. Okay, that sounds cool. I'll make a mental note to check that out afterwards. Cool. Okay. So I think the text on the chip is a little bit too big. So let's say 12SP, see how that looks. And I think this should probably be something like that. I think what I'll do, if we continue working on this example for multiple sessions, because I mean we've only got an hour and 10 minutes left of this stream, so obviously we're not going to get this to be like a fully working example, but I think what I'll try and do is pull down for next time. I'll pull down some of the assets for this example, and that'll make it easier. One of the things I like to do when I'm like going by a design is actually having a full-size design next to me where I can go and look at the actual pixel values for everything. Because I don't like just kind of guessing here with like things like 16 dp and stuff. So yeah, let's see. Some good questions here. So for localizing those chips, does that still use the resource system or something else? So that's a great question. So I'm not doing any localization right now, but what I could do if I wanted is I could use this string resource, and I could pull out a string that way, and then that would go through the localization system. But I'm just for this like example, I'm not going to go through that right now. I always have to look up which gravity alignment arrangement to use to get what I want. It makes sense once written. Yeah, you know, I'm kind of the same way. I think if you're like using this a ton, which like, so to be quite honest with all of you, like I don't actually like write code using Compose that often. One of the reasons I'm doing this stream is so that I force myself to, like I want to actually put in the time to really work with these APIs and get familiar with them and feel their pain points. And so I think that the alignment arrangement stuff is like probably something that you'll get used to as you use it more. But I mean, basically, like I kind of feel your pain, Joe NRV. Like I think it's a lot of different trade-offs in terms of like what to name these things, and we're trying to do a good job, but we don't get all of it right. How often do you plan on streaming? So I don't know. We're gonna play it by ear, I guess. Like right now, I have a schedule up on Twitch that I'm gonna try and like follow for the most part. And so at the moment, it's basically set up for 8 hours a week. So 4 sessions a week, 2 hours each. I I might, like right now, I actually have an additional session on there for pair programming with Gabe Peel, which will happen tomorrow. I'm gonna like for a week or maybe two, just kind of see what that cadence feels like, and I don't want to burn myself out in terms of like streaming too much or anything. But one of the things that I like about streaming is that it shouldn't theoretically be wildly different than my kind of everyday. Like I should be able to just hit record and go. And so that's my hope. And I could stream more if it seems like people want me to. I know I've heard some people kind of say like, don't overdo it, 'cause then your audience sort of gets burnt out. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Catching up on some comments here. I might have missed this, but how do you keep compose code neat? For example, I'd have a movie poster class and a chip class, and they'd be separate files. How would you organize compose code when they're all composable functions? I mean, I guess there's no rules here. I mean, it's just Kotlin code. So if having the movie poster and the chip as separate files feels good to you, then just go ahead and do that. Like you can have a single top level function per file. And that's absolutely fine. I like, especially if I'm doing something like this, just kind of quickly, I find just, putting them right next to each other in the same file is a good place to start. And then as like this code gets a little more baked, and like, ready to ship in a PR or something, I might move it into separate files. But, it shouldn't really change your, like the way you write the code at all. So at the end of the day, it would just be me taking this function and moving it to a different file. And that's super easy to do. And, I can even do that with IntelliJ's built-in refactor move stuff. So basically it's up to you. We're definitely working on documenting modifiers more. Yeah. Just documentation in general. There's a lot of holes, like a lot of APIs that still need good samples and stuff like that. And so hopefully we'll be adding more to that. Why are you motivating to try compose? So I think this question is, why am I not motivated to try compose? If I misunderstood, let me know. But basically it comes down to like, I only have so many hours in a day, and I spend a lot of my day actually working on the compiler. And when I'm not writing code for the compiler, most of the remaining time is spent having high-level discussion with people about like the right APIs and things like that, but not actually sitting down and building stuff. Because the truth of it, I guess, is like, okay, I can build this like movie poster example, but I'm not building a movie poster app to like ship to the App Store or anything like that. I don't have like an app side project, and so it's just hard to like. I think it's incredibly valuable for me to do this, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing this stream. But it is hard to like actually find the time, because if someone else, is asking me some important question or like needs my help on something, then it's really easy for me just like playing around with compose to take a back seat. And so having the stream and stuff like that, I think is a good way to, it provides me value. But also hopefully like this is useful to all of you as well, and that people find useful content out of watching me, write this code. So that's kind of what I mean by like, I need the motivation to actually just like try compose in this way. I actually think you'll get a ton of good feedback through these. Yeah, me too. I that's another reason why I'm really excited about this. Is like I think it's not only useful to like find like the pain points that I run into, but people watching this and giving their feedback. I think this is a great channel for people to do that. So I'm hoping that it's used in that way. Can I stream on YouTube? As far as I'm aware, I currently am. But it does say that I have 0 YouTube viewers right now. So I'm not sure. Maybe something didn't work there. I'm using restream.io to stream to multiple platforms. So I'll check that out. Can someone let me know if they can find me on YouTube? The stream is not public. Oh, interesting. Okay. YouTube's not working. All right. Well, I'm not going to have time to finish that today, I guess, but I will definitely get that fixed for next time, because definitely streaming on YouTube is one of my primary goals. So thanks for letting me know that didn't work. Is there a material card primitive built in? Yes, there is. Let me see what it is. I think it's called card. Yeah. So this is just it. I think for this example, I'm like gonna try and avoid using material unless it's really obviously intended to be a material component. If you look at the design here, this just doesn't scream material to me. And this, like, yes, it has rounded rectangles, but like there's no elevation here. This button is very non-material. And so just generally speaking, like if a design isn't intended to be material, then I think starting with the material component can kind of run you in the wrong direction. And so I'm kind of avoiding those components at the moment. Okay. Let's see. I would like to see the samples also be dark mode ready too. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a little bit hard for me. I haven't really thought about it much with this example, but this app is already kind of dark. But when we get further along in the example, we'll go ahead and see how it is. If you didn't know, the template for Compose kind of starts off with that sort of setup already. So like if you look at this dog food theme, what it does is it switches between color palettes for light mode, dark mode. And so if you're using something like material, all of this will kind of just work out of the box. And when we get further along with this example, we'll sort of pipe that in and make sure that works properly. But I'm not going to worry about it at the moment. So let's see. Classes versus function is pretty good. Okay, sorry. Dev Senior Souza, I asked this in the start of the stream. Leland, can you clarify me something? What Compose is different from React or Flutter, not at the UI, because Flutter renders everything like Compose and React does not. Flutter uses classes, and currently React is more focused on hooks. What is the difference at runtime? What does the compiler do that other frameworks do not do? So this is a good question. It might be I'll try to give a short answer, I guess. So Compose, let's see what. Compose and React are both embracing this sort of function-based widget model. And the way React does that is with some constraints, like hooks can only be called at the top of a function, and so they're just storing hooks in order. But then they also have like the component tree, which is separate from hooks in React, whereas in Compose, the way like our sort of version of hooks are just other composable functions. And so if one way to think about it is that the Compose runtime is actually more similar to React hooks than anything else. And that like extends to like our component model as well. Whereas like React components and React hooks are separate concepts. In Compose, they're both just composable functions. And so that's one of the things I'm like quite happy about, because I think that our choices led down to what I think of as like a more fundamental abstraction, which is the composable function and what's needed to achieve that. And so we build out like the Compose runtime. It can appeal to any sort of tree, just like React can. So like in React, you have React Native, which targets like these like native views, right? So like UI views on iOS and Android views on Android. And then on the web, it targets DOM nodes. And so that's like in that way, React and Compose are similar in that they're built to be generic about the tree that they target. And Flutter they build a widget tree, and then they turn that widget tree into like basically I forget what they call them, render elements or something, but they target Skia eventually with that. And so one way to think about it is that like Flutter also builds up, it targets this type of tree, and then that tree has all of this code in it, which just happens to be what you think of as Flutter as a whole. And then that tree gets rendered to the canvas. What Compose does is kind of the same thing. And so we target not Android views and not Flutter widgets or anything like that. We target what we call layout nodes. And then a bunch of code in the Compose UI toolkit turns those layout nodes into, calls to Skia basically. And the key difference, I guess, or one of the big differences between Compose and all of these other things is that we're actually leveraging the Compose runtime to do more of these subsystems. So layout in Compose is done in composition. It's done with like the Compose runtime, and like so is drawing to an extent. And so in Compose, you can kind of at composition time, you can appeal to the layout system and the graphic system and all of that. And that's something that's much harder to do in these other toolkits like React, and it's definitely doable in Flutter because they own the whole stack, and so they can expose it. And so we're similar in that way with Flutter. Anyway, Dev Souza, I'm not sure I answered your question, but let me know if that helps out. Okay. Where is Compose documentation for each composable function? So let me, if you go here, this is the developer.android.com reference section. And in here, there's like a Jetpack Compose UI subsection. And in here, you can find all of the documentation that we do have. And I mean, it is pretty well documented. I wouldn't say that it's flawless. There's a lot of holes and there's a lot of samples that I'd like to add, but But this is definitely a helpful reference for all of you. You can see, different things in here. Like these are composable functions and stuff like that. So that's where you can find all that. Okay, is it possible to add a recycler listener in Compose? I'm not that familiar with recycler listener, but if this is like a way to deal with like certain events in recycler view, like when an item is going to get rendered or shown on screen and stuff like that, these are all like types of events and like callbacks that we'll probably be adding over time to the lazy APIs. Right now, the lazy column 4 and stuff like that, it doesn't handle all of the use cases, and we're kind of slowly adding surface area to that API to handle things, and that's the current form of it is not the intended final form, if that makes sense. How about overdraw? Is it possible to use developer options in order to figure out overdraw? So the developer tooling in your phone, like if you have developer options turned on to show overdraw, that should still work. I will say though that I don't think that you should worry about overdraw as much anymore. In API 21 plus, at least, which is what Compose targeted, I don't believe this is as much of an issue. Checked out your GitHub, and there's a lot of React stuff there. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, before I worked at Google, I was very active in the React community, and I have a lot of background there. What does intelligible babble mean? I always thought about intelligent dribble. Yeah, hi Berna Ferrari, by the way. I didn't see you on here, but I was gonna make a comment when we were talking about the alignment center earlier. I thought you would get a kick out of that. But what does it mean? I don't know. This is like my online brand, I guess. But I was just kind of playing with the fact that it's like, okay, I talk a lot about stuff, and it might be slightly intelligible, but it's still just babble. So I don't know. It doesn't really mean anything. Oh, I wasn't here. A friend sent me the link. Did you reach any conclusion regarding the align? No conclusion, but it was just a situation where center was the right default. So I thought you would get a kick out of that. So Showstars says, can you talk about effect handlers a bit in Compose? What do you refer to as effect handlers that I've read from people to refer to things like launching Compose? And so, yeah. So before, like earlier on in Compose, we had an abstraction that we called effects. And there was actually like an effect class. And the name is sort of derived from like side effects or algebraic effects. And the idea, by the way, those are two different things, but the name is the same. But anyway, so we had this notion of an effect, and if you go back and look at videos like from ADS and stuff, this is when we had the plus syntax, the unary plus syntax to get things like state and on commit and stuff like this. And so those used to be, we used to kind of like play this trick to bring in effects into the composition. And I don't really want to get into it that much here, but basically it was an abstraction that we used to have. And eventually we kind of realized that if we allowed for composable functions to have return values, that we could avoid this abstraction, and that composable functions would be enough. And so we essentially got rid of this abstraction, and now it's just composable functions with return values, like cover all of the use cases that we had. But a lot of the team still uses this like nomenclature, and so a lot of people will say, oh, this is an effect, and what they mean is like probably, oh, this is a composable function that has a return value. I kind of think that it's not a meaningful distinction anymore. I think that we should just call these composables, and whether it has a return value or not is, it's a distinction just like it could be with a normal function. Like you have unit returning functions and value returning functions, and it should be the same with composable functions. But launching composition is thought of as one of these effects, and so you might hear people refer to them that way. Now you can remove all the outdated articles and mentions of older versions. Yeah, there's probably a lot of outdated stuff on the internet. Does the compose component tree survive configuration changes so we can animate this change like window size and orientation? So there's a few ways to answer this question. There are utilities that we have to save state in like the saved instance state sense and preserve them across configuration changes. For this particular question, so when you have a configuration change that changes like window size and orientation, my ideal world would be a place where we don't restart the activity on configuration changes, and that the current configuration of the device is just it's basically just a state object. So if you read like you can imagine that we have some like configuration, like let me give an example, right? So if we could just do something like this, so like current configuration, dot orientation, and actually we could do like something like that. And dot portrait. Here you could, do my portrait UI, and then here you can just say landscape, my landscape UI. And so the general idea would be that like you would have some API like this that you can just read and then make decisions based on that in your UI or in your composable. And then whenever the orientation actually changed, or whenever there was a configuration change, this value would change. And because it was a state object, that would cause this composable to get recomposed. But for instance, if if you just did this and you like, whatever it is, like if you're using it in some other way, and then you just had your UI, and your UI wasn't actually affected by the orientation. So you might be using it in some way, but like whatever's composed down here is unaffected. This would end up being a very efficient thing. So whenever the orientation changed, this would get recomposed, but this would skip, and the runtime would see that, and so there you would do no work here, and so it would be a very cheap thing to do. And so this is sort of the direction that I want us to go for configuration changes. But when integrating with like existing native apps and stuff, like this will be difficult because right now very few people don't restart the activity on configuration changes. And so you wouldn't be able to handle this as cleanly in those cases. So Asher, you asked if you can watch the stream later if you missed something. So Twitch, I think, holds on to recordings for 14 days. But I'm not sure if this one is, but I will be streaming to YouTube, and YouTube will hold on to it forever. So all of these streams will be recorded. Is beta planned anytime soon or a very long alpha, almost like production ready? So according to our public timeline right now, our plan is to be at a stable 1.0 sometime next year. So hopefully that helps. In View System, we have a separate layout and draw pass. Does Compose of something like that? Yes. Hold on one second. So Compose still has like what we would call phases, I guess. So there's sort of the composition pass, and then a layout pass, and then a draw pass. And so that's similar to that, to the existing View System in that regard. All right, I've reached the bottom of the comments. That was fun though. I want people to ask questions, and hopefully hopefully you all still find it useful if I'm just kind of sitting here talking and answering questions. I don't have to be coding the whole time. So definitely feel free to ask questions, and I'll try to get to them. But for now, let's try and get back to some of our coding. Okay, so we've got this Joker UI right now. Let's see, what should we do next? I'm just gonna finish out some of these buttons and everything. So the next thing is going to be like a star rating, and I'll give this I think we can imagine a star rating composable that just takes in a float. Star rating. All right, rating float. I'm not sure. So we can definitely do a star rating widget here, but we've got 40 minutes left in this stream, and I want to kind of get to more. This is the kind of UI we're going for, and I think I'm probably gonna like just skip that for the time being, just because it's not an important part of this example, and we'll get back to it later. But I'd rather start working on some of like the carousel like interactions. So we'll deal with that. And now I'll do the button. Can Compose handle status bar colors without depending upon themes.xml? It's a good question. I don't know if I have a confident answer, but I think so. But yeah, I don't know enough about that system to answer confidently. So But you should be able to set the status bar programmatically, so theoretically you could build that in Compose. Like if I just got well, yeah, I'm not going to bother with it right now, but yeah, I think so. All right, and then I'm gonna build a separate composable for this as well. So buy ticket button. Just gonna leave that. Can you also do 50% or just DP? That's a good question. So right now we don't have a like a %% extension function, I don't think. Let me see. Yeah. We don't we don't have an extension function like that yet. But there are some APIs that accept percentage-based things. So I think if you have like, so fill max height, for instance, there's a fraction. Oh, sorry, you don't see that. So this has a fraction, and so this just accepts a float. So if I wanted to do like 50%, I would do like 0.5f, and that would kind of get you that. All right, so let's just make our buy ticket button real quick. We'll do button, click. So let's add an on click parameter here. And then we'll just pass that in. And then the content of the button, let's pass in a text, and we'll say, I'm going to say buy ticket without all caps. And then I think that you can do, I think we can do an uppercase transform on it. All right. So this is what button gives me. This should be fine. Elevation is 2dp. Disabled elevation. All right. Grab. So I'm going to be passing in more parameters here. So I'm just going to give it named parameters, and then say background color. Let's see if, is there a dark gray? Yeah. And then say color white. Oh, the emulator's in the way. Sorry. Yeah, so Tyfly, you're asking about percent, and Bruno Ferrari is the reason the APIs that I just talked about do exist. Yeah, so implementing .% is trivial depending on what you would want it to do. So right now we're using fractions and representing them as floats. And so if .% returned a float, like from int or something, that would work. You know, it didn't seem like a it doesn't seem like that's like a necessary API for us to provide, but you could provide one yourself very easily. Uppercase is tricky for some languages. Yeah, I'm not sure. So the text APIs directly don't use they don't use the locale, but I think there might just be like an uppercase transform. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it. Hey man, Pages, how's it going? All right. We'll just give an empty on click here. And then let's see. So let's give it a 0 elevation since it looks like it doesn't have any. And then we want it to stretch out horizontally. So we'll do fill max width. Let's see, and then let's I know you may be a bit biased, but would you recommend native for someone getting into app dev, or would Flutter or React Native be easier? Yeah, I mean, obviously I am biased, I guess. You know, I work on Compose, but I don't know. I mean, I would give all of them a shot. I mean, take a look at different like tutorials and stuff. Like if you're just getting into app development, like I don't know, it would probably depend on what your background is. Like for instance, if you knew JavaScript and you knew it well and you didn't want to learn another language, then that might be a reason to stay with something like React. But if you're trying to get into app development, I think learning the native toolkit and the native language and all that stuff is really valuable, kind of regardless of which approach you take. But so I would definitely push you in that direction. But why don't you use preview and split the screen? Good question. Right. So right now the preview isn't actually working for my version of Android Studio. I'll try and figure out why that is. I'm using a Canary build, I think. So I'm not sure, but it was just what was on my machine and I didn't have time to tweak it. But also we're going to be doing some gesture based stuff like with the carousel. And so the preview is not going to be good enough at some point to do that. So using the emulator is just going to be higher fidelity, and I've got it like here on my desk. I don't know if you can see it, but let's see. So like I got the phone right here on my desk, and so being able, let me see. Yeah, there you go. Being able to just play with an actual device, I think, is like always valuable. What do I feel is more worth it? Well, I don't know. Again, it's hard to say this without bias, but I obviously this is a Compose channel, and so I think it's Android is definitely going the direction of Compose, and so I think learning it and playing around with it is going to be a good long-term investment. If you needed to ship an app tomorrow, learning Compose would not be the right call at the moment. But yeah. Currently comparing Flutter and Kotlin MPP. Flutter plugin, my job is kind of painful to work with native and Flutter. Yeah, I mean, so this is like one thing, like Flutter and React Native are both toolkits where they're run in a virtual machine on the device. And so the actual like application is being run in a separate memory space. And so any communication between like the platform APIs and those toolkits is going to have to require like some inter-process communication. And there's going to be some bridge that you have to like serialize data between. And that ends up being like really painful for certain things. And so if you go like the route of Kotlin multi-platform, they've kind of gotten away from this in like a really cool way. So when you write Kotlin code, whether it's Compose or something else, you're in the same memory space. You can just pass references of platform native objects, and that's like a pretty important advantage in certain scenarios. So if you really start working with like React Native, for instance, you'll kind of run into this problem pretty quickly, and then you'll have to come up with clever ways to kind of manage and communicate with things in like the JavaScript VM to instruct things in the JVM to do certain things, and so that ends up being a big barrier that Kotlin multi-platform wouldn't have. Let's see, multi-threaded rendering on Compose. Yeah, so this isn't possible yet, but emphasis on the yet. I know this will sound stupid. Are we able to use Compose in Visual Studio Code just like Flutter does? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're just editing text files, so you can use any ID that you want. Like a plugin. Yeah, personally, I would love to see a Compose plugin from for Visual Studio Code. I don't think that you're going to see one from Google anytime soon, just because we're really focused on making Android Studio kind of be as good as it can be, and I think right now we'd rather dedicate resources towards making it a little bit better instead of having both code and Android Studio be sort of half good. React Native's hot reload is cool. Totally agree. So is Flutter's. Both really good. What are the current big plans for Compose? Like something we can expect next as a big upgrade? I don't know. I don't think I have a good answer for you there. It's like Compose. Honestly, like we're fairly transparent on the Compose team. So for the most part, if you haven't heard of some big thing, then it probably doesn't exist. Multi-threaded rendering, we will see at 1.0. I hope so. It's something that we're working on right now, and the Compose runtime was built specifically to handle multi-threadedness. Like it was one of the core design constraints. It's just been really difficult for us to actually get it get everything else to the point where we can enable that. So it's something that we're still working on. And how far are we from 1.0? Somewhere between a year and 5 months. All right, let's get back to coding. Okay, so here we are. We've got our ticket button. See that. I think if we get this set up, oh, oops. Reading. So I think if we get this set up, then maybe it'll be time to like start start working on this like carousel like thing going on here. So right now the button is pushing everything out and we don't want that. So I'm gonna give the container of the basically this like white card thing, which I guess we're calling a movie poster. I'm gonna give it a fixed width. So put that here. I'm just gonna hard code it at the moment. See how that works. Can we build web apps using Jetpack Compose? Certainly not at the moment, but I think that would be a really cool path to go down, especially with like Kotlin JS and stuff like that. So Andrei Shikov, he's active in like the Kotlin Lang Slack and stuff like that. He's got a project. Let me see if I can pull it up. Compose. So he's been doing some really cool work with Compose as like a using it to target Kotlin JS and stuff like that. So as you can see here, like this is in a browser, and you know, he kind of built it here, and it's basically like targeting HTML and stuff like that. So this is pretty cool. If you're like interested in this stuff, definitely check it out. I think the GitHub's on here somewhere. Anyway, like what he's done here is definitely not trivial to do, and it requires a pretty decent understanding of both the compiler and the runtime. And so I'm impressed how far he's been able to get. But anyway, so this is pretty cool if you want to check that out. Let me see if the GitHub's somewhere. Yeah. So here it is, Compose server side, Shika SD. Anyway, that's that. Okay. So let's go here. So we've got a fixed width now. Let's do 220. And these Actually, let me just do 300. Realistically, we'd want to make this like some percentage of the screen or something like that. Which actually that might be a fun thing to do really quick. So let's give that a shot. Not sure if we want it to be. Yeah, let's play it out. So configuration, ambient, current, screen width, DP. Let's see, what would be, trying to think if there's like a good, if there's like a specific fraction that would make more sense here or not. Yes, I am on Twitch as well. So right now I'm streaming to Twitch, Periscope, and theoretically YouTube, but I think at the moment the YouTube stream isn't working correctly. So hopefully we'll get that working for next time. Okay, but so let's just say dot dp times 0.75. There we go. Let's see if we do that. There's actually, we should probably do this instead with gravity. It's probably the better way to do it. But anyway, in the meantime, I think the chip text is too big. So let's make that 9 SP. And maybe 10 and 2. All right. Does screen width DP need a DP at the end? Yeah, apparently it does. So it doesn't seem like the best named property, but it's an int. So, oh, well, so this is a non-composed class. This is just the configuration class, and so it doesn't know about the DP class that compose has, which is an inline class, so it wouldn't even be able to know about it if it wanted to. For instance, here is an inline class. So, but we can see, you know, that kind of works, right? And I'm just gonna add a spacer here. I'm really struggling. I don't like not knowing the sizes of things. Like this, like guessing DP sizes is really not great. So for the next stream, I'll try and get some real assets so that I can do this more precisely. So that seems like good. As like a starting point with this movie poster. So let's start trying to build an actual carousel here. And I think actually we might have a carousel component. I'm not sure. No. Okay. Which is fine because I didn't really want us to have one. So let's do this. Let's like just render 3 movie posters. And then let's start playing around with the scrollable modifier. So let's see, the scrollable modifier, we want to give it an orientation horizontal. And then we're going to pass in a scrollable controller. Or scrollable controller. And I suspect okay, so there's this convenience remember scrollable controller for us, which is basically what we want. So I'm going to use that. What do I need to pass in here? Oh, okay. I wonder if we should have a default for that. So the scrollable controller gets in this consume scroll delta function, which basically there's a gesture handler that's gonna take in, or like it's basically gonna provide you a delta saying that based on this gesture, the user has scrolled it by this amount, and then you can do with that whatever you want. But then you have to return the amount that you've consumed, and so this is like to deal with nested scrolling and things. Because if you're not consuming the delta anymore, then that means there might be some other container that then needs to consume it. And so you're sort of informing the gesture system, if someone else can consume this scroll, they can, because I haven't. But so right now I'm consuming all of it, and let's see, we're gonna pass this in. Enabled true, reverse direction false, can scroll. We might need some of these other events later on, but I'm not gonna do it yet. Okay. And actually, I think there's like a nice sample somewhere around here. Let's see. Going here. Let me bring up the docs because it's command click is not working out well for me. Asher says there's a scrollable row, right? Yeah, so there's like building something scrollable is way easier than this. But what I want to do is going to require like more specific things. So if you look at the interactions here, well, it's basically in the beginning of this is basically a carousel. It's got fixed points on it, which we can do, but we also want to make sure that we have the ability to kind of have like precise control over the animation here. And so my hunch tells me that that just doing it with the scrollable modifier is going to be the best route. Thanks for doing that. Awesome idea. Okay. So let's find scrollable here. So the documentation is kind of frustrating sometimes because it won't find these top level extension functions. So okay, so here's the example. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold the offset in a state value. Let's see. All right, so we've got a float state value. I'm just gonna go ahead and use property delegate here. And so we're gonna, for the moment, we're just gonna consume all of the delta, and we're gonna add it to offset. Oh, I gotta. That really frustrates me. But anyway, there it goes. This needs to be a var. So we've got this, and then what we can do is we can use this offset and basically offset something here. So let's do this. Offset. Oh, I was hoping that we would change this. All right, well, I'm going to get rid of this so that we have a state of float. We're gonna change this API so that instead of taking in a state, it would just take in a lambda where you could read that float, and that would have the same value. But it covers more use cases. So anyway, we happen to be in a case where we can just use the offset here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Because this is... I'm going to make my own modifier that does this. So just to give you some context, I can just offset here any way I want, and like that'll work. But what I'm gonna try and do is I'm gonna try and make it so that this state value is only read in the draw pass, and that's just gonna help things be a little bit smoother in the future. Oh, am I? Oh, I'm sorry. I need to get used to this. I didn't switch back to Android Studio. Sorry about that. I'll get better over time, promise. So here's the thing. So we've got this offset modifier, which takes a state of float, and I actually it kind of works for the X offset, but it won't, like, because our carousel is going to be transforming things and stuff like that. Like, I actually don't want it to require a state object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own offset modifier that uses a lambda instead, which is actually what I want. But let me see if we can do this. I'm just going to copy this. And let's see. So we'll call this getX and getY. And this will just be, it's just a function that gets a float. You can think of it like a thunk if you want. Screen is frozen. Yeah, so Gazisi, yeah, the command left bracket is broken for me. I was wondering why that was happening. I'm not sure which version of Studio I'm on. But yeah, I was getting frustrated by that because I use that all the time. So glad to know it's not just me. All right, so we've got this here. Actually, what I'm just gonna do the modifier directly. Offset, and then I guess we can do that as well. And then I'm just going to have this function return a layout modifier. And it'll basically do this. And instead of x.value, here we're just going to get x. Get x. And so you can see that this is basically equivalent to the state version, but this is more flexible because now my getX function, it can be any projection of state that I want, not just a state value directly. And so that's going to end up coming in handy. And this is actually where that API is going. I think it might even be changed in master already. So that should work. Let's give that a shot. So getX is going to be offset. And then we're going to end up providing, we're going to provide a different get y later, but for now I'm just going to pin it to 0. Why doesn't it like that? Cannot find a parameter. Offset. Is it having trouble with the overload? Oh. Yeah, that's why. Okay. Well. Oh, because I didn't pass in this, actually. So if I do that, I think it'll work. Right? Should be able to overload based on function. Yeah. And then this needs to be a lambda. And now I can go back to the property delegate form if I want to. So, which I do. Okay. And then this needs to be a float. All right, so this actually I think will kind of work. Let's find out. Let's see. Okay, so now you can see this is yeah, I can kind of move this around like that. It's obviously like super messed up in terms of how it's laying out, but this is sort of like the foundation of our carousel now. So we'll start playing around with that. And so just so it's clear what I was doing, like why I went through the pain of doing this. And sorry, I actually need to do this dot then. Yeah, okay. So a few things just to make it clear. Offset right now was losing the prior modifier chain. And so it worked because the prior chain I had was empty, but this sort of adds it onto the chain instead of returning a new one that's different. And the whole reason I went through this process here is, well, one, I want to be able to put an arbitrary function in here and have it work. And so what's going to happen is that this lambda will be lazily evaluated. So it doesn't get evaluated until here, which happens inside the measure pass. So this is going to happen during this will happen during layout. And because I'm reading a state object here, it's going to subscribe the layout to that state object. But importantly, I'm not reading it in this composable function, like in the direct scope of that composable function. And so what that means is that every time I update offset, I won't need to recompose the screen composable. And so that's kind of why I went through this extra work here. And this will probably be like the real API moving forward. Not 100% sure though. Okay. All right, I just saw it. So it's 2:06 now, and I feel like we got this kind of half-baked carousel, at least scrolling. So I feel like that's like a good maybe stopping point. So I'll go ahead and stop there. I'm going to do a little bit more preparation for next time, bring in a few assets so that we can work on the design a little bit higher fidelity and a little bit closer to the mock. But yeah, so thanks for tuning in on my first stream. This has been a lot of fun. I feel like there are a lot of good questions. So I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you later. So the next stream I think I'm doing is tomorrow. It's going to be with Gabe Peel. It's going to be really interesting, actually. So I hope you all tune in for that. We're going to be talking about Mavericks and Compose, and Gabe is just, I mean, he's a brilliant software engineer. If you don't know him, and I know he's got a lot of really interesting questions that he wants to ask me, and so I think there'll be some really good conversation, and we'll play around with state management in Compose a bit, which I know a lot of people are interested in. So yeah, check that out. That'll be tomorrow, and then Wednesday will be the next stream after that, and that's when I'll start working on some compiler stuff. So come by and check that out. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Cheers.